Hey everyone, Scott here, and this is my iPhone 6S. Now, actually, this was my wife's. I had one exactly like this though. Mine was space gray. I rocked it for 3 years. This was such an awesome phone. I miss it. This is the first time that I've picked this up in about 3 years. Well, I picked it up yesterday in preparation of making this video, but it's bringing back so many memories. This phone was awesome. Probably the best iPhone that I've ever owned, and I miss it. I miss it so much. It was the perfect size, just weight, thinness, everything about it was so awesome. And that's what this video is about. I'm just going to go over all of my pros and cons, talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, what it's like here in 2025 if you should choose to daily drive one of these things. Don't. It's not that great, but anyway, let's just get into the pros and cons. The very first pro, by far, is the size. I loved the size of the iPhone 6S, and mostly because I have medium-sized hands, and it fits so well in my hand, and I could reach pretty much the entire screen with just my thumb, pretty much everywhere without having to make any adjustments. And it was basically, I still think to this day, here in 2025, that this was one of the best sized phones of all time. Just absolutely perfect. Another pro related to size is how thin it is. You could very easily slip this thing into a pocket. You wouldn't even know it's there. It's very lightweight. Just the size was absolutely perfect. And I miss this phone. Just picking this thing up for the first time in several years reminds me that this was such a great phone, such a great size. It's bringing back all sorts of memories. It was awesome. Another pro, obviously, is the way that it looks. I know it's kind of like what I just said. It's very thin. But, I mean, having the rounded edges like this, the rounded corners, the color here, this was not my phone, as I said. This is rose gold. This is my wife's phone. Not really my thing, but it's just such an elegant looking device. Just really, really clean, really nice. I'm not sure that I like having white on the front with the gold. That doesn't really make sense, but just overall, just a very elegant looking phone. I like that a lot. A con, obviously, was the screen. And I got to be careful here because back in the day when I was rocking my phone, my iPhone 6S, I thought the screen was great. It seemed very large with the very thin bezels on each side. And of course, it didn't go all the way up to the top and the bottom. It had a chin and a forehead. But here in 2025, the screen is very small. It feels very small. I'm recording this video on an iPhone 14 Pro, which has a true full screen with no bezels. And when you pick this thing up after several years of not looking at it and not interacting with it, you can tell that the screen is really small. Really, I don't know how I did stuff on this phone. Another con would be the brightness. Out here, this is a very cloudy day, as you can see, but you can see the screen is very dim, especially when you hold it at an angle like this. You need to be looking at it straight on, and even then, I think the screen settings are, this is maximum brightness. And you can see that it's not quite up to current smartphone standards. And again, as I said, I need to be careful because back in the day, I thought this was a great phone. I thought this was a great screen. I had no issues with it. None. Zero. I mean, I didn't use it outside all that much, but it was good enough for the day. But here in 2025, if you're thinking about getting one of these, if you want to rock one of these as a daily driver, just know that you're probably going to have an issue with screen brightness. Another con is screen resolution. I don't know if you can quite see that. You can see individual pixels. It's kind of hard to see in the video here. I can't quite get a focus on that. But just holding it back like this with my own eyes, I can see individual pixels. So it's not, it's, I mean, again, for its day, it was decent enough. But all I'm saying is that as time goes on, it's maybe not up to 2025 standards. And as I'm recording this video, I'm realizing how stupid this pros and cons list is because Most of what I'm saying is stuff that was really cool back in the day, but not so much now. I mean, who's going to be rocking a 20 or who's going to be rocking an iPhone 6S in 2025? Not many. If anything, you'd pick one of these things up for nostalgia. But anyway, it's just fun looking back at what technology used to be, but that's what the purpose of this pros and cons list is. So, another pro, look at that. That's a headphone jack. You don't see that anymore. I believe this is one of the last iPhones to have a headphone jack. That's a plus, even though I am completely free of any headphones that have a cord, except for my main studio pair that I have at home connected to my main computer. But for mobile stuff, it's all wireless now, and I have no problem with that. But still, having a real headphone jack was really nice. The Lightning port is another con. I think even back in the day, USB-C was just starting to come out when the iPhone 6S was in its prime, and being stuck with a Lightning port, that proprietary Apple connector, that wasn't good. I didn't like that at all. That was no good. Something else that I really liked was this button down here, this fingerprint sensor. Really nice having a button on an iPhone. Again, this is the first time that I've picked this thing up in several years, and I forgot how awesome this fingerprint sensor is. You can just touch it and do things, and then you can actually click it to move around and do stuff. But that brings me to a con, which is that this button often wore out. It was the first thing that wore out on the iPhone 6S. Though I will say that both my wife and I, we used our iPhone 6Ss for at least 3 years each. She had this one for 3 years, and I had mine for 3 years, and neither of us had any issues with this button down here. It always worked. This one still works. It's still very clicky. Just you can hear it. Listen. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's very clicky. It's very sensitive. Having the fingerprint sensor, that is another major pro. A fingerprint sensor right here on the bottom of the phone. Man, that was peak. I think that was peak iPhone. That was so awesome. I wish we still had something like that today. I mean, I know they are moving towards having fingerprint sensors under the screen now, but they're not all that good yet. Still getting there, still working on it, but this one was great. Worked perfectly every time. Another pro about the iPhone 6S is build quality. As I said, we've had our phones for, both my wife and I had our phones for 3 years each, and this one is still very clicky-clacky. All the buttons still work, very clicky-clacky. There's nothing that is broken. There is some wear and tear here, some staining on the, very slight staining on the edges, on the bezel here. But everything, this phone held up very well. It's still very solid. The camera still works, which is good. And the camera, both a pro and a con. It was a pro because at the time, this camera was, I mean, it was the best you could get in a smartphone pretty much. Some of the pixels were doing pretty good at that time, but this camera was really, really good for its time. And that leads me to a con, which I know sounds stupid. Maybe I shouldn't have made this video, but in today's standards, 2025, having a single lens camera like this, just one single resolution, no zoom, not so much. It still takes really good pictures. Don't get me wrong. You could rock this phone daily in 2025, and if it's in bright weather, at least daylight like this, you could very easily take pictures that would look great on social media or pretty much anywhere. So. Yeah, what else? Cons, the forehead and the chin and the forehead, the bezels, maybe that's not so good. Already talked about screen resolution, pixelation. That's pretty much it. Overall, I just want to say that this was, not this particular phone, not this exact phone, but my iPhone 6S, the one that I had, it was the best iPhone that I've ever had, that I think. I love that thing. As I said, I've used it for 3 years, and it was great. And the only reason why I upgraded was to get a better camera, better screen resolution, just to move forward with the times. Great phone. I loved it. Man, I really miss this thing.